Hello, this video is what I think about create your own reality, and I actually believe that. Now, the idea is that you create your own reality, and not really so much just in the sense that, you know, we imagine, we think of something in our minds, we dream up something. Everybody's had kind of like, what do you call it, precognition. You think of something over and over you're going to say to somebody, and then boom, you say it exactly that way. Or something you're going to do, and then you do it. We create our own reality like that. First it starts in a dream, and then it becomes reality. But I think we also create our own reality. Like, literally, we create our own reality. Physically, we create our own reality, everything around us. So much so that, like, what controls the earth physically is our souls. We create the weather with our minds. We create the rotation of the earth together with ourselves. We would create a comet crashing into the earth. Like, that's what happened with Atlantis. We brought it here. We created the tsunami in 06. Now, it sounds like it goes against Newtonian physics, which is, like, say, a pool ball. This hits this and then it goes that way. It's pretty black and white. But now we know that that's not all of what science and physics is all about. It's not just pieces you can see doing this, cause and effect, but there's actually energy. Like, these things are made out of energy. And if these things are actually made out of energy, then it's the energy which actually creates everything. So I'm going to explain this little thing called the double slit experiment, which proves this. And it actually has all of the scientists in conundrum, and you can't get to the next level in science until the only way to explain the results of the double slit experiment, which is the uncertainty principle, the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. The only way to explain it is to actually believe, like, that we literally create our own reality, and believe all this other stuff that I was talking about. So much so that we could even, like, levitate things or levitate ourselves just by, if we believe it strong enough. And it goes like this. I've explained this before in another video, but I think it warrants this whole video. Now, double slit experiment is when scientists have got these two slits like this, and they shined a light through it, and then they had a piece of paper receive it on the other side. And so they did it with one slit first, and so then they would have the photons, burn a hole like this, a slit, just like you would think, go right through. And so they went, oh, cool. And then they put two slits, and they shone the photons through. I mean, the electrons, I think. And they expected to just go through and burn two holes. But to their surprise, it burned lots of holes, lots of slits, like that. And I said, whoa, what's going on? And so they looked and they go, oh, okay. Electrons, light, aren't particles. They're waves. Even though it only goes 186,300 miles a second, they act as waves, So, like, if you were to push water, if it were to be water and the water would go through the slits, If you push one water through one slit, then you'll get the one slit, the water hitting the other side, with it, you know, dissipating out towards the side, but the main slit where the water hits being here. But if you push both of the water, then the water would go through, and then the waves, because waves go out from the center, the waves would hit each other as it comes towards the detector paper, and hit each other, and then it'd have lots of little wavelet, you know, maximized wave patterns hitting the paper, so you'd have lots of slits, and that makes sense. So they envisioned, oh, okay, so then light is waves. Interesting. Wow, that's cool. So they said, well, that doesn't really make sense though, because you know, electrons are supposed to still pass through, you know, at the limited speed of 186,000 miles a second. How would they bump into each other? Because they're not particles. They can't be particles, because if they were particles, then how would the particles bounce out? And they said, well, okay, maybe they would. Maybe they're particles, but there's so many particles that they inevitably bounce off each other, and they act just as waves, so lighter waves. So they said, well, I don't know how they did it, but they managed to know how to shoot the particles of light, the electrons, through individually. So they shot the electrons through individually, and to their surprise, the wave patterns appeared just the same as before. And they were saying, but wait, we're shooting the electrons through individually, yet it's still acting like a wave. That would have to mean that time doesn't exist for the particle that their other particles are bumping into. But what particles? Because they're all going the same direction. So they said, okay, well, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to film them. Film the particles, the electrons go one at a time, and see exactly how they do it. You know, see if there's a matrix to it, or like some kind of pattern to it. So they filmed it, one after one after one, and they went by and they hit the same time, just like you would expect particles to go by, and it just made one slit. And that's the double slit experiment. They said, whoa, how did it do that? When the camera was turned off, they were making waves. So somehow the electrons that they were shooting through knew that the camera was turned on. They said, oh, they're watching us. Well, let's go through. So we create our reality. Physically, we create our reality with our minds, with our focus. If you look at a electron, one at a time, they will go, because we expect it to, we will shoot that electron with our minds right through and hit the wall. But if you don't pay attention to it and you just live your life, then it will go, the electrons passing through one at a time will go into, I guess, its natural state of some kind of hyperdimensional reality where there's no time, and it just bounces off all of the probable electrons that don't even exist in this reality. They exist in all probable realities. All probable realities exist at once right here in this universe at all times. Only with your mind and your focus do you make it this universe where this happens. So you literally create your own reality, physically. And so the only way to explain the double slit experiment and the uncertainty principle is to just go, okay, I can kill all of the organisms in my glass of water and crystallize the water and make it beautiful with my mind. It's the same thing. So, anyways, I'm out of time. Uncertainty experiment, double slit experiment. Check it out. Crazy stuff. Lots of YouTube videos.